In this video, we're going to go over white space and escape characters. Now the way this works is the browser will recognize one white space, and that's all. So if you put 2 or 3 extra spaces here, it wouldn't recognize it. And you can see that right here, right now. One white space is recognized by the browser. But let's put in 5 white spaces here. And then we'll go ahead and refresh our page. And you can see it didn't recognize those extra spaces. And that's where escape characters come into play. So these are the escape characters right here for space. And we need all of these. The semicolon, by the way, is just to end the escape characters. So let's go ahead and copy and paste 5 of these into here. And now let's go ahead and refresh our web page. And there you can see now the browser recognizes those white spaces because we have these escape characters right here. Now we can use escape characters for symbols as well. Suppose you want a trademark in your web page. Well, we can go ahead and use these escape characters. And let's just put this right here. And let's go ahead and refresh our page. And there you can see now we've got a trademark on our web page. And let's put a copyright notice too. Let's use the escape characters for that. So we'll just put that right after our trademark, and we'll refresh our page, and there you can see. So you can use escape characters for those as well. Now, some escape characters are needed because you might confuse the browser, and I'll show you that. Let's go ahead and type in a greater sign right here. Now, if we do that, the browser will think this is HTML code, and it'll think that we're trying to close out this element, when really we want this in our content. And so instead of typing that in, we can go ahead and use the escape character for the greater than sign. And we'll just go ahead and copy and paste that in here. And let's refresh our page. And there you can see we've got a greater than sign now. And it's not actually being confused as HTML code. That's the key. The browser will not be confused. Now there are many other escape characters, but these are the main ones that are used. So I will actually create a link in the description of this video if you guys want to go ahead and use these. See you guys in the next video. In this video, we're going to take a break from coding and talk about HTML attributes. And we've been looking at those in previous videos, but I'm going to explain more about those in this video. Now, before we do that, let's do a little bit of a rehash on elements and tags. Now, as we know, elements are made up of 2 tags, an opening tag and a closing tag. And what do these elements do? They tell the browser something about the information that is between these 2 tags. So the paragraph element will tell the browser that there's some text here. The heading element will tell the browser that there's a heading here. And the body will tell the browser that everything that's inside the body will make up the actual web page. So at a basic level, that's what elements do. And now you might ask the question, well, what's the difference between tags and elements? And the answer to that is not a lot. They're almost one and the same. In fact, you'll hear a lot of people refer to this as an element. You'll hear some people refer to it as a tag. Some people refer to it as element tags. Other people will call it tag elements. So they're very, very close, and they essentially do the same thing. Now, if you wanted to get really specific, you would say that these angle brackets here are an element, and until we put this P in here, that tells it what type of element it is. It's tagged as a paragraph element. Now, what are attributes? Well, we've been looking at those. This right here is a class attribute. And all an attribute really does is it gives more information about a particular element. It allows you to do a little bit more. And in this case, this is a CSS class, and we're turning this text blue. And so it not only provides extra information, it gives us some more functionality. And the key here is this attribute is specific to this element, this P element, and only that. So if we had another paragraph element down here, it could have a different attribute or no attribute at all. So just keep that in mind. It's specific to the actual element that it's inside. You'll also notice that it always goes in the opening tag. You never put it in the closing tag. So attributes are always in the opening tag inside these angle brackets. Now, attributes always have 3 items. First, we need to put the attribute name here, and these are standardized, of course. Then we need to use the equal sign, and then we assign it a value. The equal sign, of course, assigns it a value. So those are the 3 parts to almost every attribute. Now, you'll remember in previous videos, with the label element, we use the for attribute. And the reason I put this example here is that some attributes only go with a particular element. So for instance, the for attribute is only available for the label element. You wouldn't put that in a paragraph element. Whereas the class attribute, you can put in almost every type of element there is. So just be aware that in some attributes you can put in almost every element, and other attributes are very specific to a specific type of element. Now, attributes are going to become more important when we get to the CSS tutorials and JavaScript tutorials, ASP tutorials, those kind of subjects. But I just wanted you to understand how they work in HTML before we get to those series. Okay, that's going to do it for this video. I will see you guys in the next video. In this video, we're going to go ahead and take a look at a few more elements that you can use with your HTML forms. And that is the field set element and the legend element. But before we do that, let's actually go ahead and add another text box here, just so we can make the form a little bit larger. And let's go ahead and just add a line break. And let's just go ahead and add another one. And we'll just create a text box to hold a name. And of course, we need an input element. And let's just go ahead and save this. We'll refresh our page. And there it is. Good. So our form's a little bit bigger now. Now, first, let's go ahead and add the field set element. And what that does is it adds some nice styling to your form. And what it'll do is it will actually draw a box around our entire form. So what we want to do is nest all of our input elements inside the field set element. So let's go ahead and create the field set element. And that's all you need. And let's go ahead and close it out down here. All right, so let's go ahead and save this and let's see what we get. And there you can see we've got this nice box now around our entire form. Now we can also put a caption inside of the field set element. So it'll go right inside this box. So let's say we want to actually move this part where it says enter day you want to travel to Cancun. That'll actually look nicer if we put it inside the field set box. So let's go ahead and do that. So we do that with the legend element. So let's go ahead and create it. And let's go ahead and close it right here. So let's go ahead and save this and we'll see what we get. There we go. See how nice that looks? So this really adds a lot of pizzazz to your forms. Okay, that's going to do it for forms in HTML. We're going to move on to another subject in the next video. Thank you. In the past several videos, we've looked at the input element, and we've looked at the different types. We've created checkboxes, submit buttons, radio buttons, text boxes, and there are other types, and that's what we're going to cover in this video. Now, there is also a date type and a number type, and we'll cover both of these in this video. Now, as you can see here, I've entered some text, and what we're going to do is create a page where a user can enter the date that they want to travel to Cancun. And so what the date type allows us to do is basically pick a date. It'll give us a box in our browser that will allow the user to do that. And so here's the first input element, and all we do for the type is put in date, and that will give us the box that will allow the user to pick a date. And then we can put whatever we want in here. Let's just put in day. Now remember, this is a value we'll deal with later on in PHP or ASPs. So we're not worried about this for now. We're just concerned about this type, which is date. Now, I also put in some text here that will specify the number of days that they want to stay in Cancun. And you guessed it, the input type is number. So we just put the number in here, and that will give us an input field for numbers. And again, this involves PHP and ASP scripts, but let's just put in num days for number of days. And then we're very concerned with these two next values. This will give us a minimum number and a max number that the user can enter into the number box. So we'll just start out with a minimum number of 1, and we'll set a maximum of 10. So our travel agency will only allow them to stay there for 10 days. If they want to stay there longer, they're going to have to seek other arrangements. So again, these are two values that you can use for the number type. So let's go ahead and save this, and let's refresh our page, and there you can see we have our date box and we have our number box. And you can go ahead and here and now and enter some days. So let's just use this down and up arrow to do that. And we'll first set the month. Let's set it to January. We'll set the day to the 3rd, and then you can set whatever year it is you want to set. Now let's check the number box, and you'll notice that we start out with 1 when we hit the up arrow, and then we go all the way up to 10. We can't go any farther than that. Now this won't prevent us from entering in a number that we want to, even though that's not a number that we allowed in our HTML. We would have to stop this with JavaScript, and we'll talk about that in the JavaScript series. So the minimum and maximum values that we set in the HTML only have to do with the up and down arrow keys in the browser. If you click into the box itself, you can enter whatever number you want. And again, we have to use JavaScript to prevent that if we want to. Okay, that's going to do it for this video. I will see you guys in the next video. In this video, we're going to go over how to set up a drop-down list in HTML. Now, this is a little bit different from the checkbox we did a few videos ago. A checkbox allows the user to select as many options as they want. In a drop-down list, you only want them to select one option. So again, that's what we're going to set up in this video. So it is the select element that we use to create this drop-down list. And you can see it right here. So we need an opening tag and we need a closing tag. And then we have to use the option element, and we embed that inside of our select element. And we can put as many of these as we want, as many options as you want to present to the user. So again, these go inside of our select element. And again, the option tags will allow us to define all of the available options in this drop-down list. So let's go ahead and create some options. We'll just put some states in here. So let's say we had some sort of travel website, and let's just pretend that we have 3 states that we are allowing them to pick from, and they can only go to one of them. So the first one, let's say, is Michigan. Now this value we don't really have to worry about right now. We will deal with this later on when we get to PHP and ASP. But for now, let's just go ahead and put in Michigan. Now here's where we put in the content. This is what will be displayed in our drop-down list. So we want to display, of course, Michigan. And it's very appropriate to keep the value and the name the same. You can do that, or you can make them different. So let's just go ahead and copy and paste a new item here. And let's pick another state, and we'll go with Alabama. How about that? And to complete the process, let's do one more state. So we'll give them 3 options to choose from. And we'll make this North Dakota. So those are the 3 options they get. And we'll just copy and paste this in here again. And let's go ahead and save this, and we'll refresh our HTML page. And if we hit our drop-down box here, you can see these are the 3 options that they get in our drop-down list. And again, they can only choose one. So let's say we choose Alabama, and there you can see only Alabama now shows up in the drop-down list. Now again, in a future video, probably in the PHP or ASP series, we'll develop a script that will actually take this and process it on a server. And we'll talk about that again in a future video.